Freedom Fighters, back with another one. Well, hopefully you all had a good week and a good start to this morning. I guess that all depends where you're listening from, and when this uploads. The uploads have been killing me recently. It's been taking forever, but yeah, coming at you early on this Friday morning. It's been kind of a slow news week, nothing big or crazy has happened, which I guess is a good thing. But yeah, I didn't have any like set topic in mind or anything like that. So I got to thinking about this episode of Timcast I watched recently, and they were talking about what's going on in New York with all the corruption and Trump's court case. And the trucker boycott, which I didn't even hop on here and discuss because I knew it was going to be nothing. So, all these channels who popped on that day when it was announced, and were like, big titles. It's over for New York. New York's gonna burn and all this stuff. Like, no, man. I knew it's the same old, same old. No one's gonna do anything. Yeah, a few people are gonna hold out. How that works for you people who don't know, the people who are holding out are independent truckers, and they get their jobs. They go on these websites and they do bids for jobs. So they say like, okay, like you want to haul this to New York, and they calculate their fuel costs and their time, and they say, okay, I'll do the job for $500, and then someone goes, well, I can do it for $350 or something like that, and then they win the job. Those are the people holding out and saying, you know what, I won't do deliveries to New York anymore. But the larger truck companies and people who are on like contract and salary who are working for these companies, they don't have any choice. It's like you showing up to your work, whatever you did, and said, you're a rug salesman or something. You know what, I'm just not going to sell rugs today. I'm not going to sell, or I'm going to boycott these kind of rugs because they're from Indonesia or China or whatnot, and I'm just boycotting them today. I'm not going to sell any Chinese rugs. And your boss is just like, what's up with that, man? Like, that shit ain't going to fly. So, yeah, I knew, they're still going to get their stuff. New Yorkers aren't going to go hungry. There's not going to be riots in the street and pure pandemonium and all this stuff. That ain't gonna happen. And just like the Texas protest, you heard 700,000 trucks are going down to Texas and boycott the border, and there's gonna be this big clash versus National Guard and all this. No, I already knew that ain't happening. Look what they did the last time there's a big fuss with when they tried to copycat the Canadian protest. I think I already talked about this, but they bought permits and stuff to park, and they were like, we don't want to cause any disruptions in traffic or any like that, so we're just making sure we do all everything the law-abiding citizen doesn't want to cause any problems with government. But anyway, this got into a larger discussion that he was asking the panel, can New York be saved? And I wanted to kind of broaden the discussion to, can the country be saved? And, they were going through different avenues of, like what you have to do, how you have to fix New York, get these corrupt DAs out and the attorney generals and all this stuff. But, these people are voting for it, and they continue to do so. And then they talk about, well, people are fleeing and all this. And this goes into a discussion I want to get into at another time that I have planned about, all the people are like, oh, they're fleeing the cities, and all these channels are like, you need to get out of these cities. Well, all these liberals and these people that you dislike, because let me tell you, the people that are fleeing the cities, yeah, they're not the most woke of the woke, but these moderates in New York that are fleeing the city because they're seeing how woke it's gotten are going to move to your country rural town and still bring those somewhat moderate, leftist ideas to where you are. And this is going to get to a broader video that I wanted to do for a long time of why balkanization won't work. Everyone's always talking about, like, yeah, everyone just needs to move and, stop supporting these cities and, cut them off and everything. Well, first of all, these, like I said earlier, these trucker boycotts won't work because I saw one of these truckers. They were saying, I can't remember if it was this New York I don't think so because that was recently, but I think it was the first time they did this trucker protest. He was like, they're like, are you gonna, stop bringing these shipments into the cities? And he was like, no, I know there's a lot of elderly people and disabled that rely on my shipments, and I can't, sleep at night, and I can't feel good with myself knowing that I'm not bringing them. In some cases, their, life-saving medications or their medical equipment, um, food and stuff like that that they need. So he's like, I'm continuing deliveries. And I mean, I understand that sentiment. I mean, it's going to be brutal, but that's the reality of war. I mean, war is brutal. And that's a problem I've said our side has had a problem with a long time is we refuse to believe we are in a war. And it's going to get ugly. And our side always, for some reason, pushes back and, like, they don't want, they're like, nope, we can't do that because that's just going to be too far. And things are going to get really nasty over there. To me, I'm like, well, they reap what they sow. And it's kind of just the point where we're at. But yeah, all these people, and then they were saying they're starting to wake up. These people in these cities are starting to wake up. And it's like, no, they're not, man. And this brings me to a point of Chicago. I don't think I did a video about it, but when they were having that election, and you remember they were like, oh, Lori Lightfoot. I can't remember if she was running for re-election or if her term was over. But when she was out, people were celebrating like, oh, the dictatorship, the Beetlejuice tyrant reign is over. And I said, oh, well, just wait till you see the next one. And everyone was like, oh, no, the people have woken up. And Tucker actually had that guy on the Chicago alderman a lot on his show. And he was like, yeah, people are waking up and they're, I'm like, man, this is all hopium. I've heard it 1,000 times over. And our side always does this where they're like, the black population or the Hispanic population is waking up. Sure, you've woken up one or two or three, and of course, in the vast majorities, it's really hundreds or thousands, but in the vast majority, you always see blacks vote 90-10 Democrat, and maybe you can shift it to 88-12, and Hispanics are usually 70-30, and you're not really changing those numbers that much. Yeah, you're waking up a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand, but in general, it stays the same. So Chicago voted in an even more woke mayor. And look at what's happening. Once again, they're reaping what they sow. But do you think they're going to wake up? I mean, there has been reports. I think I touched on it. I know I at least was truthing about it. But, in a lot of these communities now, they're like, there's a rift between the African American community and all these illegal migrants. And I know Thanksgiving, there was this one video where this lady was like, I always came here and got my free turkey and my Thanksgiving dinner, or there was a meal provided, or whatever their benefits were. They got cards to go get Thanksgiving food, supplies, and stuff like that. And they're like, now when we come here, they say there's nothing available, and supplies are running thin, and my benefits are dwindling. And they're saying the same thing in New York, right? They're giving out $10,000 debit cards to illegals. They're paying their rent. They're putting them up in hotels. And the African American community is like, well, where does that leave me? And now they're saying some of the same stuff that they've always called, us, the racist, homophobic, bigoted, right wing, whatever bigots is what they always called us. And now they're saying some of the same stuff. They're like, we don't want them here. Ship them out. They don't belong here. And they're taking our stuff and our benefits. And some of them are actually moving out. And what do you call that? Is that black flight? That's what they said when the whites moved out. Originally when they saw their neighborhoods changing, and they were like, well, these people are taking our benefits, and our jobs are dwindling, and they're taking our opportunities. We need to move elsewhere. And they're like, that's just racism. That's white flight. Well, now they're doing the same thing. And that kind of goes, what I was saying was they're going to bring it to your neighborhood, because these people aren't going to say, well, yeah, that Democrat way really screwed up my town. They're going to say, well, things are nice when they first move into your area, and they're going to wokeify it. They're going to change it eventually. So, that's kind of what I wanted to propose the question to you, broader than can New York or Chicago be saved? Can we still save this country? I'd like to know your thoughts on it. Let me know. And as always, you know what I say, we are on our own. No one's coming to save us. So get right with God, because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.